Thanks, Cheryl. All right. The Biden administration releasing its first national security strategy, saying that it sees a, quote, decisive decade ahead as it faces competition with China and Russia. The plan identifies Russia as an imminent danger and China as a long-term threat. Joining us right now is the Heritage Foundation president, Kevin Roberts. Kevin, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. I love the way they deem China a long-term threat, but do everything they can to roll over for the Chinese Communist Party, canceling the China Initiative. Tell me about the China policy and the policies out of this administration to actually respond to these comments that Russia is an adversary and China is a long-term threat.
Well, two things, Maria. The first is American policy towards China has never been weaker. It's never been more feckless. I say that as a policy leader, not as a partisan statement. And we need to be really concerned about the second point, which is in combination with that weakness, we see a really important party Congress meeting in which Xi Jinping will be reelected to an unprecedented third term. The combination of those two things means that the United States needs to look past partisanship. We need to look past all the other foreign policy challenges and realize this. The Chinese Communist Party is an existential threat to America and to free people around the world. And we need the President of the United States to be zealously focused on confronting them.
Yeah, and we've got the National Congress of the Chinese Communist Party beginning on Sunday. And as you just said, you called it reelected. I would just call it the affirmation that he's dictator for life. China's top leaders reaffirming Xi Jinping's status as the core of the Communist Party at that four-day meeting beginning on Sunday. So does the CCP become more aggressive once he gets his hands even firmer on the wheel here, handed this unprecedented third five-year term? And let's not forget what Mary Kissel said yesterday, that he is General Xi Jinping, meaning he is the head of the Communist Party, and that is a lifetime, for life appointment.
Xi Jinping absolutely will become more aggressive. And I think when we look at foreign policy, it's important to read between the lines. And the first step of that, as we do at Heritage every day, is to put ourselves in the shoes of the people we're talking about. So, Maria, if you're Xi Jinping and you look at how weak the president of the United States has been, you look at how conflicted the presidential administration has been, people in junior positions or senior positions with very junior experience, if you're him, all you want to do is consolidate power. There is, by the way, a chance that one of his lieutenants will be less aggressive. To your point, this isn't really an election, it's a sham.
Right.
But the reality is that over the next 2 years, we're probably going to see Xi Jinping rattle his saber even more when it comes to Taiwan. And President Biden, as you say often, simply is not up to the task of confronting him.
Not up to the task or compromised. Todd Pyro, jump in here, because this is when the national security concerns come into play, knowing that this president has to make decisions representing America to a country that his family has taken in tens of millions of dollars.
Right. And to that point, I've been hearing for years that China's economy is about to be in collapse, or at the very least be in really bad shape. Why isn't this administration taking advantage of that, using that fact as a leverage with our negotiations with the CCP? Is it because Biden is compromised? Is it because we think that would lead to something militarily? It doesn't add up to me, Kevin.
Todd, good to see you. There are three factors for that. The first is the incompetence of Biden we've been talking about. The second is that we are concerned. In fact, I don't think we're really ready militarily to confront China. We have a major research report coming out at Heritage, the Index of Military Strength, in the next couple of weeks, and we will show for the first time that the United States is unprepared, not just weak, unprepared for a major war. But the third point, to really zero in on what you and Maria are saying, is that the president is compromised. You've run some stories this morning about the Heritage Oversight Project. We were the ones who got the receipts, as my younger colleagues like to say, about those Border Patrol agents not whipping those illegal aliens. There are receipts when it comes to Joe and Hunter, and I can tell you that when the Republicans are in control of the Oversight Committee in the House in January, we're going to be walking with them shoulder to shoulder to show how compromised the Biden Biden family is.
Not only that, but it's all about holding on to power for this administration and the Democrats. Look what they did with Saudi Arabia. The Saudis have confirmed that Biden actually did attempt to coerce the kingdom to postpone the OPEC plus oil production cuts until after the midterm elections. This is the White House says it plans to reassess the U.S.'s Saudi relationship. Listen to this.
But he was very clear. There will be consequences. We believe the decision that OPEC Plus made last week was a mistake, and it was short-sighted. From the beginning, the president has talked about recalibrating, readjusting our relationship with Saudi Arabia, and now we're going to get into a process where we'll review that.
Yeah, KJP with her talking points, Kevin. The bottom line is this president once again misled the American people, telling the Saudis, that's fine, you're going to cut production, do it after the midterms. That's what he did with the rail unions. He did a whole press conference celebrating some rail deal, a tentative deal that was in place. It was never in place. He simply told the unions, put a pin in it until after the election. So, again, the priority was holding on to power, not seeing the economy worsen on a rail strike until after the elections, not seeing oil prices move on the production cut from OPEC until after the election.
Well, Joe Biden in his entire career in politics has never been worried about the truth, which is a polite way of saying he's dishonest. But the second thing is we've learned that you can't do foreign policy by fist bump and groveling. And how embarrassing is it that the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, would twice in a span of a few months go to one of the most evil leaders on the planet and ask him to help his party out in the midterms. This is what this administration is about. And this, by the way, is why the everyday American is so fed up with business as usual in Washington, and it's why, frankly, I'm optimistic that when the conservatives are in power, if in fact they're willing to govern as conservatives starting next year, Maria, we will retake America.
All right. Well, we'll be watching that for sure. Kevin, good to see you. Thanks very much. Kevin Roberts joining us. What was that hot mic moment? Nobody F's with the Biden. Oh, no, actually, they just did.
Oh, yeah.